On October 4th, 2016, 24-year-old Mia Griffith stepped off a regional bus onto an empty stretch of Arkansas Highway 21. She adjusted her backpack, asked the driver if he'd be back by sunset, and walked directly into the fog of the Ozark National Forest. By nightfall, she was gone. For 2 straight years, a massive tracking effort yielded absolute zero. No dropped phone, no footprints, and no scent for the search dogs. Mia had completely ceased to exist until a blindingly foggy night 2 years later when a long-haul truck driver slammed on his brakes on that exact same highway. Standing in his high beams was a barefooted, severely emaciated woman who looked like a living skeleton. It was Mia. She was breathing, but she couldn't utter a single syllable. And when emergency room doctors finally looked inside her mouth to see why she was mute, the entire medical staff completely froze. What they found didn't just explain where Mia had been. It uncovered a subterranean nightmare operating right beneath the forest floor. To understand how a human being completely vanishes from a public road without leaving a single microscopic shred of physical evidence, you have to look at the exact mechanics of the initial search. When the bus driver noticed Mia hadn't returned for the evening pickup, he alerted local dispatch. Within 12 hours, Newton County Search and Rescue deployed 3 separate K-9 teams to Highway 21. The dogs immediately picked up Mia's scent at the tree line. They followed it precisely 2 miles up an isolated, unpaved logging trail that cut through dense hickory and oak trees. Then, everything stopped. Near a sharp bend right next to a dry creek bed, all 3 tracking dogs froze. They didn't pull into the underbrush. They didn't whine or look down the steep ravine. They simply sat down, completely losing the trail in the exact center of the gravel road. In forensic tracking, this is known as a clean break. It happens when a target is either lifted directly off the ground into a vehicle or when a scent trail is instantly washed away. But there were no tire tracks in the damp gravel. There were no signs of a physical struggle, no torn fabric, no broken twigs, and no footprints other than Mia's own boot prints leading up to that exact spot. Her smartphone immediately went dark at 9:15 that morning, not because it was turned off, but because the signal was completely dropped from the nearest cellular tower. The forest had completely closed behind her, leaving investigators with an impossible puzzle. Stories like Mia's reveal that the most terrifying monsters don't hide in our imaginations. They wait in the places we consider peaceful. If you want to uncover the dark truths behind cases the mainstream media ignores in America, hit that subscribe button right now and share this video. Now, let's get back to the timeline. For the next 24 months, Newton County detectives ran into wall after wall. The Ozark National Forest spans over 1.2 million acres of rugged terrain, defined by steep ridges, deep hollows, and thousands of undocumented limestone caves. It is an environment where a person can get lost and remain undiscovered for decades. Investigators treated the case as a standard lost hiker scenario for the first 6 weeks. They utilized aerial drones equipped with thermal imaging, civilian search grids, and dive teams to check local reservoirs. But as the months bled into years, the theory shifted. Experienced hikers do not disappear without dropping a single piece of gear, a water bottle or a wrapper. The total absence of physical clutter suggested intent. The local community began to whisper about old folklore, while detectives focused on a much more grounded, terrifying reality: human intervention. The area surrounding Highway 21 was dotted with off-grid cabins, abandoned homesteads, and deep woods properties where landowners valued absolute privacy above all else. Without a specific suspect or a baseline piece of evidence, police could not legally obtain search warrants to cross those property lines. Mia Griffith's name was officially moved from active search files to the cold case database. Her family held vigils. Her photographs faded on local bulletin boards, and the forest remained completely silent. On October 12th, 2018, exactly 2 years and 8 days after Mia walked into the trees, a long-haul trucker named Ted Vance was navigating a treacherous, fog-choked stretch of Highway 21. Visibility was down to less than 15 feet. Vance was traveling well below the speed limit when his high beams caught a flash of white movement directly in the center of the asphalt. Thinking it was a white-tailed deer, Vance slammed on his air brakes, sending his rig sliding across the damp surface. When the truck finally hissed to a halt just inches from the figure, Vance looked through his windshield and realized he wasn't looking at an animal. Standing motionless in the glare of the halogen lights was a human being. She was barefoot, wearing nothing but a tattered, dirt-encrusted, oversized flannel shirt that didn't belong to her. Her hair was severely matted, her skin was paper white, and her cheekbones protruded so sharply she looked like a walking anatomical model. When Vance climbed down from his cab, the woman didn't run, scream, or move away. She just stared blankly through him. Her eyes were wide, completely unfocused, and her body was shaking from severe hypothermia. Vance wrapped her in his jacket and immediately called emergency services. He would later tell state troopers that the most unsettling part of the encounter wasn't her physical appearance, it was the total absence of sound. Even as she shivered violently in the passenger seat of his truck, she didn't weep, sigh, or make a single vocalization. She was locked in a state of absolute, unbreakable silence. The ambulance rushed the unidentified woman to the intensive care unit at the Regional Medical Center in Harrison, Arkansas. Within an hour, fingerprints confirmed the impossible. The skeletal woman rescued from the highway was Mia Griffith. The medical team, led by the attending trauma physician, immediately began treating her for severe malnutrition, advanced muscle atrophy, and acute catatonic stupor. Physically, Mia's body showed clear signs that she had not been living in the wilderness. She didn't have the typical sun damage, tick bites, or briar scratches associated with someone surviving in the woods for 2 years. Instead, her skin was completely pale, indicating prolonged total deprivation of sunlight. The real horror began when the physician tried to clear her airway. Mia's jaw was stiff, locked in a rigid defensive posture. As the doctor gently pried her mouth open to check her mucous membranes and look for signs of internal dehydration, his medical assistant gasped and stepped back from the bed. Inside Mia's mouth, the frantic explanation for her silence became terrifyingly clear. Her tongue and the soft palate of her throat were heavily scarred from repeated, targeted chemical burns that had destroyed her vocal cords. Her teeth showed severe enamel erosion consistent with breathing highly corrosive industrial fumes over a long period. This wasn't an injury caused by eating wild berries or poisonous plants in the forest. This was a deliberate, calculated forensic countermeasure. Someone had intentionally destroyed Mia's ability to speak, ensuring that even if she ever escaped or was found, she could never utter a name, describe a location, or tell authorities what had been done to her. The discovery inside Mia's mouth transformed the medical emergency back into a high-priority criminal investigation. State investigators and the FBI were brought in overnight. While Mia remained physically unable to communicate, forensic analysts began examining the tattered flannel shirt she was wearing when she emerged from the woods. The fabric was covered in microscopic traces of a very specific substance, limestone dust mixed with a highly specialized waterproof industrial sealant. This particular sealant was commonly used in the construction of underground storm shelters and subterranean root cellars to prevent groundwater seepage in the high humidity environment of the Ozark Mountains. Armed with this specific forensic data, the FBI deployed a specialized tactical team equipped with ground-penetrating radar to search the properties immediately adjacent to the logging road, where Mia's scent had ended 2 years prior. Less than 3 miles from that dry creek bed, hidden behind a dense wall of overgrown briars and dead timber, they located a small, unassuming generator, shed on a parcel of land registered to a reclusive local resident. Inside the shed, hidden beneath a heavy pile of scrap metal and old tires, investigators uncovered a reinforced steel hatch secured with a heavy digital keypad. When tactical units cut through the lock and lowered themselves into the darkness, they found a fully insulated, soundproofed concrete bunker buried 12 feet beneath the mountain soil. The interior was stark. A single iron cot bolted to the floor, a ventilation system piping air from the surface, and containers of industrial-grade cleaning solvents, the exact chemicals that matched the burns found in Mia's throat. The bunker had been built with a terrifying level of precision. It was designed for one specific purpose: total isolation and absolute concealment. The search of the subterranean property confirmed that Mia Griffith had spent 730 days trapped just miles away from the very search parties that were looking for her. The local predator who owned the land had utilized the dense, unmonitored topography of the Ozarks to construct a modern-day dungeon directly beneath the feet of the investigators, while the property owner vanished into the deep mountain brush hours before the FBI raid and remains a fugitive on the run. The physical evidence left inside that concrete vault provided a definitive answer to the mystery. Mia Griffith didn't get lost in the woods, and she didn't wander off to start a new life. She walked into a meticulously planned trap. Today, Mia continues to undergo intensive psychological and physical rehabilitation. Though her voice was stolen from her in the darkness of the mountains, her survival remains a powerful reminder of how dangerous it can be out there in the wilderness, and why places like these should never be explored alone. When venturing into unfamiliar terrain, it is always safer to go in groups. As investigators continue to comb through the vast expanses of the Ozarks, a chilling question lingers over the region. How many more hidden hatches could be waiting out there among the trees, buried just beneath the forest floor? This brings us to the end of yet another chilling tale from the Ozarks. If you enjoyed this deep dive, support our work by hitting the thumbs up button. Share this video with family and friends and subscribe to keep the channel growing. Thank you for watching.